Next on the list, Daniel Tate, you're here. You have 5 minutes. There's a mic in front of you and you need to press the button. You need to press a button so we could.
We reset the. Can you guys hear me clearly? Okay, thank you everybody for hosting me. My name is Daniel Tate. I really appreciate the executive committee. Just to give you some quick background, I've lived in Toronto my whole life, born and bred. I love this city. Also, I'm a music historian. I'm a published author, and I also graduated from York University studying political science and urban planning. In fact, I wrote my undergrad thesis on Yonge-Dundas Square back in 2004 when Kyle Ray was around. I got an A from Professor John Caulfield, and it was about a case study of neighborhood change at Yonge-Dundas. So this is not my first rodeo. So what does Dundas mean to Torontonians? Well, I can tell you that Dundas is etched in the cultural fabric of this city. For me personally, my grandfather used to drive me in his taxi cab back in the 1980s on Dundas. He would stop at Kensington Market, do his shopping. AGO is on Dundas. I would get my hair done at Dundas. Growing up on Dundas was beautiful. I have great memories of it, and so do millions of Torontonians. Even Yonge-Dundas is such a revered intersection for this entire city. I remember in 1993, after Joe Carter hit the home run against Philly, my dad and me drove down to Yonge-Dundas to party and celebrate. So many celebrations have happened there. Also at the square, we look at the Raptor celebration in 2019. The whole city came together at Yonge-Dundas Square, and it was a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to set the table so everybody understands how revered Dundas is to this city, to the cultural and historical fabric of the city. And so on December 14th, 2023, when City Council had an urgent motion from Chris Moyse, basically saying we need to adopt the new Councillor Chris Moyse, my apologies. Late December 14th at 7:56 p.m., an urgent motion to adopt the new name Sankofa Square. 19 councillors in this body said yes, 2 said no, Stephen Holliday and Jay Robinson, God rest her soul, and 5 were absent. And so the next day, people were mortified. The entire city of Toronto, the media, social media accounts, my friends, so many other friends of mine were completely mortified that this city council would decide to just unilaterally pave over our history and pave over a civic space that everyone has wonderful memories of over some shoddy academic scholarship, which I'm not going to get into deeply now. And then the media took the story, and it was bipartisan on how much this was panned. The Globe and Mail called it Toronto's shameful renaming debacle. Yonge-Dundas Square's new name was a chance to set things right. How did it go so wrong? From the Toronto Star. Just recently, Now said, to be honest, just leave it. Many Torontonians don't want to ditch the rename of Yonge-Dundas Square, especially when we realize this is now turning into a financial albatross costing into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Polls, parliamentary minutes where Dundas is actually vouching for abolition. I can leave it here, you guys can read it later. But 2 more things I want to quickly share with you because I know time is of the essence. The Dundas report, it's entitled, Was Toronto Misled? This is an indictment on the entire process on how we got to this naming fiasco, starting with John Tory caving to a really flawed petition in the first place. I highly encourage everybody in City Council and everybody in media to read this report. It's 80 pages, it's beautifully done. It's called Was Toronto Misled? Misinformation and False Accusations Behind the Decision to Rename Dundas Street. Lastly, there's so much populist and common unanimity against this across the spectrum, left, right, center, black, white, Asian, Chinese, bourgeois, proletariat, you name it. Nothing has unified this city against this renaming like this issue. And so I am pleased to present to this executive committee, and you in particular, Mayor Chow, this petition of 30,000 signatures. Stop the renaming of Yonge-Dundas Square petition from the citizens of Toronto. It's 30,000 names. There's over 2,000 comments. It's eye-opening, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much for bringing it here. Come and get it? Yeah. She's right there. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Holiday to the deputant.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tate, could you tell the committee a little bit about the comments? So the petition is in action. In your experience being involved with the creation of that, what is the sentiment of citizens? I know there's the decision and there's the process. Could you tell what you're hearing?
So I'm really tuned into the media. I'm tuned into social media. I'm plugged in on Instagram. I talk to everybody in my ward, which is Chris Moyse's ward. I'm his constituent, and Councillor Moyse. And everybody, it's like 90 to 10, maybe 95-5 in favor of stopping this. And what's really eye-opening is that people from every background, like I've spoken to Chinese people, there's even Ghanaians and like Jamaicans in here who say this is nonsense. This city has so many problems right now, crumbling infrastructure, garbage cans that don't work. I live in Chris's Moyse and we have to step on human feces all the time. Can we not use Section 37 funds for those purposes? Let's use Section 37 to fix our busted garbage cans, other infrastructure. This is unifying the city. It's an example of bloated bureaucracy to fix a problem that did not exist. Nobody asked for Dundas Square to be renamed or Dundas Street, and that's why this has really turned into like a major movement. I do have comments from constituents of everybody on this board, and I can read them for you if you'd like.
So sometimes council makes decisions with very little notice. There are reasons sometimes that motions are brought onto the floor. I recall this was an example of which there was very little public discussion prior to this occurring.
None.
Did you see that as a dimension in the type of feedback that was captured by this petition?
Yeah,
is that part of the discussion?
That's an absolutely correct assertion. And in fact, one of the most common comments the day after on all the social media accounts like SixBuzz, BlogTO, et cetera, everybody was saying, if we're gonna do this, where was the transparency? Where was the public consultation? And I'll give you an example historically. When they were looking for a name for our new domed stadium in 1987, that was open to the city. I have the Star clippings. 150,000 people said, hey, let's pick, everybody submitted their name. For a civic exercise like this, for a major municipal landmark, if we had the fiscal resources to do it, we could have made it a unifying and wonderful naming exercise. But instead, Chris Moyse decided to Councillor,
Don't do that again.
sorry.
That's 3 times.
Councillor Chris Moyse.
Disrespectful. Counselor.
I'm calling him by his name, man.
Keep going, keep
I'm
going.
not- okay.
Just keep going, please.
Councillor Moyse,
Just keep going.
please. Chris Moyse railroaded this through council. Mike,
Relax,
why?
just keep
Okay.
going, please, just finish
Listen,
your sentence.
what I want to say to Councillor Moyse is that as one of your constituents, me and thousands of people in your ward are very disappointed in you. And we feel, and we've seen you in media, basically saying that anybody who's against this renaming is like racist or anti-Black, and that's very
Mr.
disingenuous
Tate,
of you to
you're
say.
answering the question to Councillor Holiday,
Through the chair.
okay? Can you please
Through the chair.
address, to the chair, to me,
Okay.
Council Holiday is the person asking
Sure,
the
no
question.
problem.
Thank you.
If I can get two in.
Please
So
do.
the first question is, in situations where there isn't civic participation, do people then feel a lack of ownership or a lack of connection with the asset? So if the decision is made elsewhere without public consultation, does that break that bond? You know, in your opinion and what
So-
you've heard with respect to the feedback through that petition?
Yeah, so names have energy. Places have memory. It's a collective consciousness. So every time you go to Yonge-Dundas Square in the past, I'll give you an example. I saw Beyonce there. It was an incredible concert. I saw the Tragically Hip there. There was a time when Yonge-Dundas Square had great corporate funding, lots of sponsorship, and we had world-class concerts taking place right in our living room. And when we have those
Council
moments,
offside? Are they offside with the wishes of the people?
yes, and council has a
May I
great
trouble you to wrap
opportunity
up?
now.
Your 5 minutes is up.
Council has a great opportunity to do the right thing and correct course, basically. I mean, 30,000 signatures, nothing to sneeze at.
Thank you very much. Another question?
One question.
Okay,
So
Councillor
this
Morris.
motion, when it came to council, as you mentioned, it was actually the same time that we renamed Rob Ford Stadium. Where's your petition for that?
Well, Rob Ford was a legend of Toronto, and he's a legend of Etobicoke, so it's actually very fitting
Yeah,
and
it's very
relevant
telling.
to
Thank you.
name.
Thank you.
Where was the Toronto candidates for Yonge-Dundas? Gordon Lightfoot Square, Jackie Shane Square. Herb Carnegie was a hockey player who broke the color barrier. He was from Toronto. Imagine that, Herb Carnegie Square. So using the Rob Ford card is kind of lowballing, Councillor Moyse.
Not really.
Councillor, okay, any other questions to the deputant? Okay, Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, I'd just like you to,
Can you repeat that? Say it on the microphone.
Hang on a second.
I'm being
Hang on.
insulted by Councillor
Allow
Moyse.
Councillor
I don't
Fletcher to
appreciate you
ask the
calling me a
question.
racist, because I'm definitely.
Wait, Councillor Fletcher has
Yeah.
the floor. Allow her
Only
to
one
ask the
that has
question
the
and you
floor.
can answer it. Just a second. Councillor Fletcher, ask your question, please.
so just to look at the trajectory here, the City Council made a decision to rename Dundas Street. You would agree with that? Yes? At a certain point, City Council made a decision to do that, correct?
Well, John Tory caved
No,
to the
is
petition.
did City Council make a decision to do that, yes or no?
Well,
Yes, no? Maybe you don't know?
I recall looking at the motion here that when, on that same December night, when Councillor Holiday put forth a motion to actually cancel the renaming of Dundas Street, you, Councillor Fletcher, voted
I'm
against
asking you
it.
if you happen to remember
Why did you vote
that.
against it?
Sorry, this is not a give and take. As I understand it, City Council made a decision to rename Dundas.
Yeah, it was a terrible decision.
Under the previous administration, there was a number that was attached to that to do the whole
13
street.
million and counting.
And then coming back in this new term of council with the new mayor, there was a decision to change the name of Dundas Square and 2 stations. I think that's historically, since you're very clear about record, or what you see as the record, I think that is
Yeah, the renaming of Dundas Street is
that's the record.
still on the books, and it's only been paused.
still the record
It's-
at the moment.
That's correct.
And thank you very much. And now you've given us a petition, but it looks like it's a Canada-wide petition. I have signature here, Bowmanville, Milton, Sioux Narrows, Calgary, Thornhill, Saddle Lake, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Ajax, Mississauga, Vancouver, Oakville, Keswick,
Cobourg,
Weston, Richmond, Oakville, Mississauga,
Richmond
Harrison,
Hill.
Ontario, Prince Albert,
Yeah.
Vaughan,
Woodstock,
Calgary,
Guelph.
Ganges, Delta,
St.
Welland,
Catharines.
Niagara Falls, Rossland, Mississauga, Erin Mills, Woodbridge,
It's a fantastic
Stittsville,
petition.
Mount Forest, Sudbury, Fonthill, Minden, Logan Lake, Fort Erie, Kelowna, Nanaimo, Collingwood,
Barrie.
Kuspanzas, Oakville, Duncan, Alliston, Mississauga, Vaughan, London. And those are just 2 pages. It does seem to me that your 30,000 names are coming from across the country, correct?
Well, across the
Yes or
country
no?
is, no, no,
No?
not, no.
Are
But
those cities
may
not
I-
outside of Toronto?
May I respond?
Are they, no, I'm asking you. Are those cities outside of Toronto and outside of Ontario, some of them? Yes or no?
They are part of a region called the GTA.
No, I
Remember,
don't
there's
think-
Dundas,
sorry,
Ontario.
when did
There's
Moncton-
Dundas
when did
townships
Moncton-
all over Ontario.
When did Moncton become part of the GTA?
We're all
When
Canadians.
did
This
East
is a,
Willoughbury?
this
When
is
did
a
Bonnyville?
microcosm of a
When did
national issue.
Gravenhurst?
So
When did
you're
Brampton?
splitting hairs,
When did
Councillor
Brant- I'm
Fletcher.
not splitting hairs.
For you trying to discredit the petition by saying there's a
Actually,
Moncton signature,
am trying
that's
to-
low stuff, and everybody
sorry.
sees it.
I
There's
am
nothing
now
wrong with the
reading you-
occasional signature from somebody in
It's
Moncton.
not occasional,
It's a
that was 2
beautiful town.
pages. Let's face facts.
We are
that
facing
Many of the
facts.
signatures in your petition are from across
Okay.
the
So
country.
we'll put this on
And you're
publicly.
telling me
We'll put
that
this on a
Trent Lakes
website
is
and we'll
part
let
of the
the people
GTA?
decide.
I'm sorry, I'm finished questioning. Thank you. Mayor.
Etobicoke, Toronto, North York, Toronto, Burlington, Downsview, Richmond Hill, Concord, Vaughan, Windsor, Mississauga, Toronto, Etobicoke. You're cherry picking Moncton to discredit the petition. That's also disingenuous, Councillor Fletcher, and the whole city's watching.
But, Councillor Tate, why don't you just finish answering the question?
I'll put it online so everybody can be it. I'm all for
You're done?
transparency.
Councillor Fletcher, okay, thank you so much. Any other questions to the deputants? No? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.